You're listening to the Night Stalker Rescue. Episode 10. I transmitted to Ian. Angel 1, we're moving up high ground, coming in hot toward the shore. Be advised, we've got the Mongolian horde on our tail. I ignored his response, instead keying the tactical frequency to transmit to my team. When we hit this high ground, I gasped, sucking for air. Let's flip around in a hasty ambush. Take out some front runners before we continue. I can't hold them off much longer. I was pushing hard uphill, my lungs aflame, when I heard Worthy's response. Don't stop. I can see the water. His last word struck me like a bolt of lightning, and I knew instantly what he meant. He could see the liquid horizon surrounding this island, and if that was true, we were so close to rescue that to stop now would be the height of insanity. A second later, I saw it too, the jungle suddenly parting to reveal sky, and beneath it, an endless blue sea. Then my feet stepped forward to nothing, the earth sloping sharply downhill beneath me as I skidded into a rapid descent. I caught a blurred vision of Josephine and Riley supporting Cancer's weight between them, struggling to keep their footing on the steep downhill slope. Worthy was speeding in front of them, casting a panicked glance over his shoulder that was probably as much out of concern that they'd fall and taken out on their way down as it was to see if I'd made it over the edge. And then the world exploded over my head. I felt the sky splitting above me, a distant, deafening roar interspersed with the cracks of infinite machine gun volleys slicing through the air. A pang of fear gripped my chest. It was as if we'd summited the ridge only to encounter an entire army on the other side. Only my panicked glance below, toward the source of fire, assured me that we hadn't stumbled into an entire army. It was a navy. The dozen small gray vessels scattered along the coastline were American, and the gunners on board were now raking the ridgeline above me with heavy machine gun fire in long bursts to ensure that any Abu Sayyaf pursuers found sufficient motivation to let their quarry escape. I should have felt indescribable relief, but my concerns at present were solidly grounded in countering gravity's pull as I slid and bounced downhill, skidding and bumping on a slope of sand and rock, ending in a narrow beach. By the time I came safely to rest on level ground, the massive concussion of machine guns firing on the ridgeline had ended altogether, fading to an echo as the gunners maintained their aim on the high ground above us. And just like that, it was over. The combat action done, my heart still beating out of my chest with exertion, head ringing from the gun blasts and overall disbelief. We were on a thin strip of sand now, soft waves lapping the shore a few meters to our front. By now, however, we knew not to push our luck on this island. Worthy, Riley, and Cancer had already pivoted, sweeping their aim across the high ground alongside the Navy and Marine Corps gunners on the boats. I hurried Josephine toward the water, advancing toward the ladder of a small boat anchored in the waves, awaiting her arrival. Ian's voice came over my earpiece. Suicide, look to your right. I did, and saw nothing but a palm frond blocking my view of the beach. Pushing it out of my way, I saw another vessel waiting in the shallow, wave-splashed waters. It was an innocuous white fishing vessel, its paint chipped and battered. Surrounding it in a half-circle in the deeper water was a trio of small naval vessels, their guns trained toward the shore. Josephine, I said, stopping our advance toward the sea. This is where we part ways. She appeared confused, then looked past me toward the odd native vessel with a vanguard of U.S. Navy boats. Her eyes met mine, and she appeared to understand everything at once. Josephine didn't argue with me this time. Instead, she asked,
Well, what about when we get back to the States? How do I look you guys up?
You don't, I said. You're going to be debriefed by some people from the embassy. They're probably going to make you sign non-disclosure statements. You evaded capture and made it to the coast by yourself, and you're going to get a Valor Award for your actions.
Why do you say that?
Because I'm going to write you up for it. She shook her head.
Why would I accept an award for something I didn't do alone?
Because, I concluded, you're not just accepting it for you and your fallen pilot, which would be reason enough. I swept a hand toward the rest of our team, Worthy, Cancer, and Riley, oblivious to the conversation as they directed their barrels at the jungled high ground. You're accepting it for them, too. She seemed to understand this, her lashes fluttering over hazel eyes.
Well, if you guys are ever hiring, I want you to look me up.
If we're ever hiring, I said, we will. Watching you shoot people was like watching a baby take its first steps. Her face broke into a smile, then a laugh that ended with tears in her eyes. I said, goodbye, Josephine.
Goodbye, David.
She replied, holding up her fist. I tapped her fist with my own and she walked off, but not toward the waiting Navy boats. Instead, she approached my team, fist-bumping the others in turn and exchanging a quiet word. Then she was gone, walking away from us, down the sand and toward her waiting rescue. I watched her wiping tears from her eyes as she walked into the surf, into the waiting arms of two Marines who had descended into waves at the bottom of a boarding ladder, helping her up before the first one ascended after her. The second Marine was a huge black man who half-heartedly reached for the ladder, watching my team as if trying to comprehend what he was looking at. Then he mustered himself to the position of attention in the water, snapping a sharp salute toward us. I returned his salute, though I wasn't sure whether he saw it or not. He was already darting up the ladder behind Josephine, barely reaching the deck before the vessel backed into the deeper water, churning a long, arcing turn toward the waiting amphibious fleet. "You ready, David?" Worthy said from behind me. "Getting wasted on the beach by some sniper in the trees is a hell of a way to go." "Yeah," Cancer agreed. "Plus I need a smoke, in a bad way." We helped Cancer painfully negotiate the short stretch of beach as Worthy shot up the fishing vessel's ladder, bracing himself at the top to help Cancer aboard as Riley followed. I was the last aboard, clambering up the ladder and onto the gently rocking deck as my teammates disappeared into the cabin to treat Cancer's wound. I made a move to follow them, then stopped abruptly and cast my gaze toward the horizon. Josephine's boat was speeding away at maximum throttle, bouncing on the waves with its escort ships in tow, taking her back to the amphibious fleet stationed offshore. I braced myself against a guardrail as our fishing vessel slowly turned in the same direction and set off into the sea. The trio of Navy boats whirled around next to us, assuming a protective formation until we reached deeper waters. The gunners were still training their machine guns toward the shore. One of them watched me in between scanning the shore, and I gave him a thumbs up. He returned the gesture, and I looked back toward the sea. The sky was an endless cerulean expanse above a rippling seascape that stretched into oblivion. Mottled blurs of white cloud beckoned invitingly in the distance, assuring safety and comfort now that we'd left the terrorist hotbed of Holo Island. But I knew the truth. We were mission failure on our first excursion, and for good reason. Khalil Nuruddin would be flagged for life as the mastermind of an attack that killed a U.S. pilot, and the best hunter-killers on Earth would pursue him until he was killed or captured. That put him well above my team's purview, and while I felt a tinge of regret that we wouldn't be the ones to bag him as I'd hoped, this loss was inconsequentially small against rescuing Josephine. For my team, a different fate awaited, because while Khalil had survived us for the time being, there were many other weeds to be pulled from the land of organized terror. We had cut our teeth in this new world, myself included. Khalil was our first attempt, but he wouldn't be the last. New battlegrounds awaited, provided my team wasn't disbanded in the fallout of this targeted killing-turned-rescue operation, and after the fate that nearly befell Josephine, we would be ready. My thoughts were broken by Ian's nasal voice, suddenly audible not over my earpiece, but directly behind me. "Welcome back to the ship." I turned to see his lean form, sunglasses dangling from the collar of a nylon shirt, as if he were a tourist on a commercial fishing charter. His balding temples were concealed beneath the brim of a khaki boonie cap. Ian's eyes were bright and joyful, and his wiry arms spread wide for a hug. I grabbed his shirt with both hands, slamming him against the wall of the cabin as I shouted, "You set us up! It was all bullshit! All of it! The cabinet minister, the whole business!" I lowered my voice to a growl, bringing my face closer to his. "Got us in here to do your dirty work." From inside the cabin, I heard Riley shout, "David gets the case of beer." "Goddamn right I do," I yelled back, releasing Ian and smoothing his shirt. Ian blinked quickly, having been rendered silent in utter disbelief. "My God, David," he finally gasped. "Have you guys been doing Predator quotes this whole time?" "Yeah, pretty much." "Points for consistency," he admitted, pulling me into a quick hug and slapping my back. "Come on, let's get to the cabin. Duchess is on the line for you. As you probably guessed, she's pulling us out of the Philippines ASAP, but she has another mission lined up." "Well, don't make me wait," I said. "Where are we going next?" Ian sucked his teeth, then spoke in an almost reverent voice. "Syria, David. We're going to Syria." The Night Stalker Rescue is a production of Fathom Curve Media. Written by Jason Kasper, performed by Justin Price and Tara Novie. Sound design by Darren Boling. Casting and original recording by Audio Sorceress. Produced by Andrew Watts for Fathom Curve Media, an imprint of Severn River Publishing.